Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. With I'm gonna burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you. Toadstool Sports. This is the Bracketology edition, my God, for Monday, February 23rd. We can get into it, man. Obviously, if you've seen me do it, as I've been doing this show weekly, bi-weekly now, actually, twice a week, whatever you want to call it. I just go through my bracket. I do it based off of an amalgam of like other bracketologies, based on what I think the committee would actually have right now for the at-large portion of it. I try to predict the conference winners for the other part of it based on who I think is the best. Really, it's a power ratings thing. And then I'm incorporating betting odds into it as we get closer to tournament time as well. So we can get into it, man. Now, the 1 seeds that I have, I don't have a change, except that I do have Duke overtaking the number 1 overall seed because they beat Michigan straight up. So I do think that would be a change that would be made in the bracketology just based off of that, even though one result, it's one game. It shouldn't mean everything. But I do think they would get the overall 1 seed right now based on that, with Michigan being very close, being the 2 seed. I think clearly those are the top 2 ones. Either way you have it, I wouldn't really argue with you. Arizona coming in 3rd right now. No real surprise there either, as they've started to bounce back nicely. They had a win over Houston, obviously, which was huge. And then the 4th overall 1 seed is going to be where people really start arguing. I think it's between Houston, UConn, and Iowa State, which I don't think anybody really disagree with that. A lot of people are going to put Iowa State there because they beat Houston, but I just think it's some of their other metrics and resume stuff. I don't totally agree with it, and I'm doing a little bit of prediction here because I'm also using betting odds and stuff for this. The betting odds, I think, are off the board now for everything except the top 3 seeds, though. I'm leaving it as Houston for now. I'm not including what's happening tonight in this bracketology. Although I did skew it actually a little bit based on the North Carolina results when we get further down in the bracket. But I do still have Houston there as the 1 seed. UConn, they did bounce back and get a win. They crushed, I think, Villanova. So they're on the top of the 2 line right now. I just still think their resume is just a bit weaker just because the Big East is too weak. Iowa State's right behind them. But again, these 3 teams, Houston, UConn, Iowa State, really, really close. Like, any way you have those 3, I'm not really going to strongly disagree one way or the other. And, trying to predict what's going to happen for the rest of the season as well here and what I'm doing for the 1 seeds at the very least for now. Then to round out the 2, we do have Purdue and then Illinois. Illinois still on the 2 line, even though they did blow that game at UCLA. And Purdue also lost at UCLA. But both of these teams, I think you could argue one way or the other between Purdue and Illinois as well. There are definitely going to be some arguments that Florida should be up on the 2 line now. I could see it, but Florida, I still think they're just being held down a little by their early season losses, and yeah, all their losses were to good teams, I'm pretty sure, but the fact that they did lose those games, I think, is still holding them back just slightly. But I do think they're clearly the best team in the SEC at this point. They're on the 3 line, along with Nebraska, who hasn't really changed from where they were last time I did this. Gonzaga, who we still have winning the West Coast Conference, and then Kansas, who is in action tonight. Probably, even if they win tonight, they probably remain somewhere on the 3. The 4s, we have Michigan State moving up a little bit because they did just beat Ohio State, which was a decent win over a potential tournament team, at least a bubble team. Texas Tech looked fine in their first game without Toppin. Not a very good opponent in Kansas State, but they did crush Kansas State. Put up 100 points. I think that was Texas Tech's most recent game. A lot of guys are dropping them in the bracketology just because they lost Toppin, but I still think you got to see what happens. This still has to be based on what they do from here on out, and that was a good game for them. So they're remaining on the 4 for me. Virginia, I believe, did just get a win over Miami, which was a decent win. They're on the 4 line still. I think I already had them there. And then Alabama is also rounding out the 4 line there, riding pretty much that win over Arkansas still. Tennessee did just go into Vandy and get a nice win there, so they have moved up. I think I did have them on the 6 line at one point. I think if they were a 6, they'd be pretty underseeded. I think even as a 5, they might be underseeded. They just don't get a lot of respect just because they don't score great. They're mostly a defensive team, but they are a legit team. They're on the 5 line for me. Good win for them at Vandy. Vandy has fallen onto the 5 line, slightly behind Tennessee. Arkansas, I believe I'm keeping on the 5 line here. No real change there. And then St. John's remains on the 5 line as well. So no real change with them. North Carolina, I think I already had them on the 6. I did bump them up a little bit after they just beat Louisville. I basically just flipped the 2 of them. So Louisville also on the 6, although I seriously think Louisville will be pretty underseeded if they're really a 6. I still don't trust North Carolina at all, especially without Wilson, as you know, even though, yeah, it was a good win for them tonight, but Louisville, we know they're high variance, so if they're just not hitting their shots, they're going to lose games if they're not. BYU without Saunders still remains on the 6 line. We'll see what they can continue to do without him because they still have Dibansa, however you pronounce his name, Dibansa. And then Wisconsin did move up quite a bit. I believe I had them somewhere either a 7 or an 8, and they're all the way up to a 6 now with a nice win over Iowa. They've been on a roll, a nice run for Wisconsin here. Although they did lose to Ohio State, I believe, the game before that. But they had 2 huge wins in the prior 2 games against Michigan State and Illinois. St. Louis remains on the 7. That was a good win for them over VCU. They got the season sweep over the next most competitive team in the Atlantic 10, which is VCU. VCU is a solid team. St. Louis, unfortunately for me, because I had a play on VCU. VCU blew the game and wound up not even covering. But good win for St. Louis there. They remain on the 7. Villanova also on the 7. Villanova, very non-competitive pretty much in the game against UConn. Although I mentioned I did like UConn in that game. And I think the final was not really even indicative of how dominant UConn really was in that game. Villanova, I mean, they're an all right team, though. They got the metrics. They're still there on the 7 line. NC State still hasn't played since they crushed North Carolina, so no real change there. I think they remain on the 7. I think I might have moved them up from an 8 just because some of these other teams had to move down a little bit. Kentucky, not a great loss at Auburn, although because Auburn is considered a tournament team right now, they don't get knocked too much for that. Kentucky is just very, very hard to predict, man. They'll be in based on their name, plus they do have a good enough resume, and I think the metrics actually do like Kentucky a decent amount, so they remain on the 7. Utah State, I still have winning the Mountain West. They're on the 8 line. Iowa falling a little bit. They're on the 8 line as well after losing to Wisconsin, although I don't think I dropped them that much. I mean, that's not a horrible loss. SMU on the 8 as well. Still not sure that I trust them, but they had that nice win over Louisville and then continued their momentum. I think they beat BC in their last game, so not a big deal, but they kind of just stay where they are. Miami played fine against Virginia. They did lose. It's not a horrible loss for them. I think they put up a really competitive performance on the road. They're not easy to do that. So Miami remains on the 8, pretty securely in. We're starting to get to some of the bubble teams now. Clemson just continues to fall, man, as they just took another loss at home to, who did they lose to? Florida State, I think it was, over the weekend. Not a great loss there, although Florida State has been pretty competitive, really, to be honest. But Clemson, they're really in free fall right now, but still with good enough resume to get in. But they're falling towards the bubble. St. Mary's hasn't really done any wrong. They moved up slightly to the 9 because some of these other teams are kind of hurting themselves a little bit. UCF, I just don't love them. Based on their resume, I guess you have to have them in still, and they're on the 9 line for me. But power ratings-wise, I'm not a fan. Georgia still remaining in on the 9 line as well. I believe they did just get a win over Texas, which was a decent win. Texas considered to be a tournament team right now as well. Texas A&M continues to fall a bit as well. They're not playing good basketball right now. I believe they did just get another win, though. I think it was kind of a useless win over Oklahoma. It was one of those games where if they lost, it would have really hurt them. I believe that's what they did. I could be wrong, though. But I think they won against Oklahoma. They're on the 10 line now, so it has been quite a drop for Texas A&M there. The aforementioned Texas also is up to the 10 line. Even though they did lose to Georgia, I don't think that loss is going to really do much. They had a nice run of like 6 wins in a row prior to that. So Texas is doing all right. And based on the metrics, I think they should get in. UCLA has put themselves back in. We're now talking about the last 4 in, by the way, with Texas, UCLA, Indiana, and Auburn. UCLA, really nice win over Illinois to keep themselves in. I don't think the committee is going to be able to leave them out now that they have wins over 2 of the 2 seeds right now, Illinois and Purdue. Even though they were both at home, I think UCLA will get in, and I had to move them back into the round of 64. Indiana, just very, very hard to gauge. We don't know, like, they just took another loss, and I think it was to Purdue, so I don't think we can really drop them too much for that because they weren't expected to win that game. Indiana's a very strange case where I see bracketologists having them all over the place. I still have them in, but I don't know, man. They're going to be like one of the hardest teams to predict where they land in the tournament. They could be anywhere from pretty securely in to completely out. Like, I actually have no clue where Indiana's going to land. And then I do have Auburn there. Nice win over Kentucky for them. They're still in the round of 64. But they're going to need to do more to make sure that they're safe after they just had a pretty bad skid. The last 4 in, I have Santa Clara. Really nice win. They beat me the other day because I liked the spot to fade them with San Francisco, and Santa Clara beat San Francisco down, dude. Pretty nice win given how bad that spot was, too. Santa Clara, their metrics are really, really good. I think they should be in. It would be nice to see them in. I got them. I got Missouri, who metrically, I don't even think Missouri is really as good, but they pulled off some decent wins. So I do think they dropped their most recent game to some team that's better than they. I can't remember who they lost to, but you can refresh my memory. But I still have them in the play-in. TCU has moved their way up to the play-in, playing some decent basketball as of late. And they did have that one huge win over Iowa State that's definitely helping their resume as well. Although that alone didn't get them in for me. And then Ohio State, don't even know what to do with them either, really. They're the last team that I have in the play-ins right now. Riding that win that they had over Wisconsin. They lost as expected to Michigan State, but really they didn't play badly in that game, although a close loss I don't think really gets you anything with the committee. Then first 4 out, we have Cal. A lot of this is based on the odds right now, man. Cal did just beat Stanford. Decent win for them, but I don't really think they deserve to get in. I don't think they're good enough, but I do have them as the first 4 out based on what the betting odds are saying right now. USC behind them. USC is really kind of just playing themselves out of the picture right now. Then New Mexico. New Mexico has been getting some wins against some bad teams, but they're going to need to get some wins against better teams in the Mountain West to bolster their resume there. Or, of course, they could win the Mountain West tournament, and that would do it. Miami, Ohio's got to come up here because I have them not winning their conference. So they remain undefeated, but their resume is just very, very weak, man. They have like the 8th weakest schedule in all of Division I. They have 0 Quad 1 wins. So they've played 0 quad 1 games. I think they only have 1 quad 2 win, which was at home against Akron. It's going to be really, really interesting to see what the committee does with that Miami, Ohio team. If they remain undefeated and then lose in the MAC title game, we'll see what happens with them. Next 4 out, San Diego State just took a fairly ugly loss to Colorado State after losing to Grand Canyon. That's not good for their tournament hopes, so they're on the next 4 out line now. I did think that I thought they would lose to Colorado State. I thought it was a bad spot. VCU still on the next 4 out. Like, they do have a lot of good metrics. Man, I don't think they're going to get dropped very much for losing to St. Louis. Virginia Tech still kind of remains on the picture there. And then Cincinnati is the last of my next 4 out. Now, they have good metrics, dude. They're a good defense, even though their record is ugly. That win over Kansas, I think, puts them in the bubble discussion at the very least. So Cincinnati kind of coming from out of nowhere there. Dirty Sock, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Then we have the conference winners. There really hasn't been much of a change here at all, I don't think. South Florida still winning the American, although, again, there are a lot of teams in that American that really could kind of win it. South Florida, Tulsa, they're probably the top 2. It should be one of those 2 probably, but I wouldn't count out Wichita. I wouldn't even count out Florida Atlantic because they're actually a good team. It's had to deal with some pretty major injuries, and those guys are getting healthy now for FAU, so I wouldn't count them out either. Can't really ever just say that you should count out Memphis, even though they're having a down year. One of those 5 teams probably gets it. Maybe UAB, but South Florida for now is getting that and getting a 12 seed for me. UMBC winning the America East still because they beat Vermont. I don't know if they beat Vermont twice. I think they split 1-1, but it's a horrible conference. They're getting a 16 play-in. I mean, it's going to be probably either them or Vermont. I would be pretty shocked if any other team wins that conference, but it is a really bad conference. St. Louis still winning the A10, obviously. I don't see them losing it, but like I said, I think they are the one team in the A10 that will get an at-large bid if they lose the Atlantic 10 tournament somewhere, as long as they don't lose to like a really bad team in the A10 tournament. They should get an at-large anyway. They're on the 7 line, as we said. Duke winning the ACC, no shocker there. They're the overall 1 seed now for me. Austin Peay winning the Atlantic Sun and getting a 15 seed. No change there after they escaped against North Florida, and then I believe they got another win after that. Lipscomb has really kind of fallen off in the A-Sun, so really it's kind of between Austin Peay, Central Arkansas, who I think took a loss on Saturday to Florida Gulf Coast, which is not that great. Central Arkansas is still in the mix there. Queens, I guess, is still in the mix there as well. Lipscomb probably not to be totally counted out there. Big 12 got Arizona winning and getting a 1 seed, but these big conferences, again, it's not really interesting to predict who we think is going to win those conferences because those teams are solidly in the tournament anyway. UConn winning the Big East. I would be shocked if it isn't either them or St. John's. There is a drop-off between those 2 teams and then Villanova, and then a pretty big drop-off after that, too, in the Big East. Big Sky, Portland State still winning it and getting a 15 seed. UConn, by the way, I do have on the 2 line now, but they could get a 1 still. Portland State, yeah, we're still winning the Big Sky there. It's probably between them and Montana State, maybe Montana, but Portland State still getting the job done there with their defense for the most part. Big South, High Point did just beat Winthrop, although the game was close at the end of it, but they were able to split the season series with Winthrop. They're definitely the best team in that conference. They're winning it and getting a 13 seed for me right now. It'll be them or Winthrop. I don't think any other team really has a shot to win the Big South. So we will see which one of them gets it, but High Point will be the favorite over Winthrop on like a neutral if it comes to that. Michigan's still winning the Big Ten and getting the 2nd overall seed there on the 1 line, of course. Big West, it's very close between Hawaii and UC Irvine. UC Irvine did just lose to UC San Diego. So I believe UC San Diego got some revenge in that one, and Hawaii bounced back and beat UC Santa Barbara. Close call between those 2, but Hawaii is there, especially based on that most recent result. They're getting a 13 seed right now. Still could be Hawaii, could be UC Irvine, could be UC Santa Barbara. UC San Diego, I really still think is not to be counted out. It'll be interesting to see how that conference plays out. And then I think Northridge is kind of in the mix there too. Colonial, I got Hofstra winning it and getting a 13 seed, believe it or not. Because I think they're actually not bad. Ken Baum actually has them in the top 100 in his metrics right now. But it's going to be between them, UNC Wilmington, and Charleston, maybe William and Mary. We'll see what happens. That conference usually does have some chaos in the conference tournament. With I think they have relatively few buys in that one. Conference USA is still Liberty and getting a 13 seed. They still haven't lost, I don't think, in that conference. But we'll see what happens, man. Yeah, I mean, it's a bad conference. I don't think Liberty is really that good. They've fallen outside of Ken Baum's top 100. So actually, did Liberty actually lose a game? I'm not sure. Let me see. I should buy Ken Baum, by the way, just to see. Oh, they did. They lost to Western Kentucky. How did I not realize that? So they did actually take a loss, a blowout loss. I guess I just wasn't paying attention on Saturday. But Liberty's still getting the win in the Conference USA right now, but they're not as dominant as people think they are. We'll see what happens with them. They were winning a lot of really close games, kind of like Miami, Ohio. Wright State winning the Horizon, even though I think they lost to Robert Morris yesterday. It's going to be basically, I think, between Wright State, Oakland, and I guess Robert Morris now kind of in the mix there. Green Bay, I guess, is debatably in the mix there, but I don't know. I just don't trust Doug Gottlieb, man. So Wright State getting a 15 seed for me right now. Yale's still far and away the best team in the Ivy, getting a 12 seed and winning the Ivy right now for me. And that conference tournament is a little bit easier to win because only 4 teams get into it, so you only have to win 2 games. But there are some close results in that conference tournament sometimes. Merrimack just continues to win in the MAAC conference. I think they've won like 8 games in a row now. 2 overtime games in a row where they could have lost to Siena and Iona, but they still won. But that conference is very weak, and they're getting a 16 seed for me. I'll enjoy seeing a Massachusetts team get into the tournament, even if they're going to get in and then just get absolutely thrashed by a 1 seed. But we'll see. Akron's still winning the MAC, no change there, getting a 12 seed. I have them. Ken Baum still has them power rated significantly higher than Miami, Ohio. They face a more difficult out-of-conference schedule. We'll see how it plays out there, man. MEAC is Howard winning it, still no change there, even though that's a conference where you'd think some other team could rise up there, potentially. NC Central, Norfolk State, whatever, one of those teams maybe. Maryland Eastern Shore has fallen off, but they are still an interesting defense at the very least. I've got Howard in the 16 seed play-in there. Missouri Valley is still Belmont. I mean, Belmont pulling off some pretty good wins there and really kind of separating themselves. And I have them on the 11 line now. But that Missouri Valley conference, it's definitely not a sure thing. Like, that's a competitive conference. You still got they got to contend with some strong teams in that conference still. Murray State is still not to be counted out. Illinois State, Illinois Chicago having a shockingly good season. Northern Iowa with a very good defense there. Bradley, any one of those teams could win it. I'd be surprised if it's not one of those 5, though. Mountain West is still Utah State, getting an 8 seed, like I said. I mean, it's pretty much, it's them, San Diego State you probably can't really count out once that tournament starts. And New Mexico is in the mix as well. Grand Canyon is in the mix there as well, although they just had an ugly loss to Wyoming. But I told you they were not going to cover against Wyoming because they were in a bad spot there. I guess it's still possible that Boise plays up to their expectations once that conference tournament starts, and they could make some noise in that tournament as well. Maybe shouldn't count out Nevada either. So Mountain West Conference will be interesting. Northeast Conference is still Long Island, getting a 16 seed play, and it's probably going to be either them or Central Connecticut. That conference plays a lot of ugly, low-scoring games, though, so really kind of anything could happen there. Ohio Valley, UT Martin somehow still the best team there, even though they lost a couple of games. They're getting a 16 seed. It's just really no team is really seizing that conference right now. But it's between UT Martin, Southeast Missouri State, maybe Tennessee State, SIU Edwardsville, maybe kind of in the mix there, and then I think I'm forgetting one team that's kind of maybe in the mix in that one. But whatever. Patriot League, Navy is probably going to wind up getting it. I mean, Colgate might be able to knock Navy off. It should be one of those two teams. I do have Navy getting a 15 seed right now, though. Florida winning the SEC and getting the 3 seed. I mean, they are definitely the best team in the SEC, although, of course, they're not going to need to win the SEC tournament, but we've seen them try to win that tournament under, what's their coach's name again? Golden. I always forget these teams, these guys' names, man. But they won it last year. He seems to want to win those tournaments, so we'll see. Like, even though I think it's kind of stupid to go all out in your conference tournament, and then you have to do it again in the actual tournament. I know Florida won last year, but there were a couple of games where they almost lost like 3 of their tournament games. So we'll see. But yes, they're definitely a legit team. Southern Conference is still East Tennessee State and getting a 14 seed. But again, it's still between them, Mercer, Furman. I guess maybe there could be some other team that rises up. It's a weak Wofford, I guess, is still in the mix there as well. It's a weak conference, so a lot of different things could happen there. The Sun Belt, I have Arkansas State winning it as of the last bracketology that I did, just because the power ratings have them there now. Even though they're still like probably 5th in the conference standings, but that conference is very tightly packed. Still could be Troy, although Troy has been really falling off as of late. Marshall, I know, is kind of in the mix there. I think South Alabama's in the mix, but I think Arkansas State is actually the best team there, but we'll see if they're able to rise up. They're getting a 14 seed. Always keep doing this. I always keep skipping because I see East Tennessee State, then I see the Sun Belt winner, and then I skip the other teams here. I got McNeese still winning the Southland. It's going to be either them or Stephen F. Austin. I don't see either other team being able to do it. I have McNeese still power rated higher. And, dude, I saw Amir Khan, if it was actually his Twitter account, tweeted out walking in with McNeese again tonight in their game. So I'm like, did he go back to McNeese? The boombox dude, the equipment manager dude. Because I thought he went with Will Wade to NC State. So I don't know. Maybe he went back to McNeese. I have no idea. But there's still a strong team in the Southland. I have them getting the 12 seed right now. Bethune-Cookman still winning the SWAC and getting the last of the 16 play-ins. Probably them, Southern. Those are probably the 2 best teams in the SWAC. Southern, I think, did just take a pretty ugly loss, though. Summit League is between North Dakota State and St. Thomas still. North Dakota State gets the nod just because they beat St. Thomas. They're sitting there on the 14 line. West Coast Conference, Gonzaga getting a 3 seed. No surprise there, although Santa Clara and St. Mary's putting together good seasons there. But Gonzaga's still the class of that conference. And then the WAC, because of Utah Valley's ban, the next best team getting in, unfortunately, because it weakens the tournament field, Cal Baptist getting a 14 seed. And if they do get in, it would be their first tournament bid ever, which I believe that is also the case for Arkansas State. If St. Thomas gets in, it would be that would be the case for them too. So there are a few teams that I think could be first-time tournament appearances. Utah Valley would be too if they weren't banned. So, and I think Merrimack would be as well because they moved up to Division I not that long ago. The rest of these teams, I don't think they're playing for a first tournament entry, but it's interesting. And then, of course, as always, we take a look at Joe Lunardi and see what he's got going on with his bracketology, the most respected of the bracketologies on ESPN. He hasn't updated it since the 20th, though. So, again, he's doing his on, like, Fridays and then one other day during the week, I guess. His 1 seeds are Michigan, Duke, Houston, and Arizona. So he has the same as I do, although he's not factoring in Houston's loss to Arizona, but Arizona's ahead of them, also a 1 seed, so I didn't really knock Houston very much for that. His bubble, he's got a UCF as one of the last teams in. I do have them more solidly in, even though I don't really think they should be based on their metrics, but more of the metrics goes into the bracketing process. He's got Texas A&M, Auburn, and Ohio State. So I have the first 3 of those, I have all of them in with a bye, and then I have Ohio State as one of the last 4 in. His last 4 in are Santa Clara, Missouri, UCLA, and USC. I have Santa Clara and Missouri in the last 4 in as well. I have USC out in the first 4 out, and I have UCLA in with a bye, but he's not factoring in their win over Illinois, so we'll see. But as far as the teams that we have in the tournament field, I think we only differ on one. He has USC in, and I have them out. And he has TCU as his first team out, and I have them in. So that's our only difference right now. I have them in the last 4 in. His first 4 out of TCU, San Diego State, who I also have. I have them in the next 4 out, and after that loss they took. Then New Mexico, I believe I have them in the first 4 out as well. VCU, I got them next 4 out. Those are his first 4 out. And then his next 4 out at Cal, I have them actually in the first 4 out now. Virginia Tech, I have them, I believe, also in the next 4 out with him. He's got Seton Hall in West Virginia there, so our bubble differs a little bit, but he's not taking into account the wins on Saturday either, so, or the games on Saturday, I should say. So a little bit of a difference there, but we agree on 67 out of the 68, and I believe 63 out of the 64, so yeah, that's going to do it, man. Thanks for hanging out. It's just an outlet for my bracket autism here. I'll be back tomorrow, and we'll go down the Tuesday card, which will be a bigger college basketball slate. Hopefully my mouth isn't so dry. I hate the winter, man. Maybe I'll turn my heat down or something. I don't know. Get more water. But that's going to do it. Yeah, Learn to Toad on Twitter. You can subscribe to me there. That helps me out. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Listen and subscribe, here, or watch and subscribe here. Like and subscribe here on the YouTube channel, of course. Give me good replies as well. You can listen on audio. I got my Spreaker account back because they did determine that it was a deletion in error and that I'm actually a person and not a spammer, not a bot. So, but then I had to backfill, and I uploaded 3 episodes earlier today. So we'll see. If they flag me as a spammer again for doing that. I told them I was going to do it, so I don't know. But, it's just a very, very small amount of money over there. I'd like to get way more listeners over there. Give me good reviews over there. Apple, Spotify is where it is. Listening helps, too, because the ads, bring in money. Covered in Uke is my Uke channel on YouTube, so like and subscribe over there as well. Patreon.com/LearnToToad for some bonus Uke stuff there. And then Losercast will be back tomorrow with a new episode. Don't know if we have a guest or not on that one, but we'll be back with a new episode. 10 p.m. Kansas starting to pull away a little bit here. I'm not a fan of Kansas, but, when I give out a play on Kansas, I like being right at the very least, even though I'm much more of a fan of Houston than Kansas. But, yeah, Kansas really turning it around here. They went on a little bit of a run at the end of the first half, I think, to go into the halftime break with a slight lead, and they're starting to pull away a little bit. So we might get this one right, but we'll see. Houston, unfortunately for them, they're not exactly equipped to come back from large deficits. That's the one thing about Houston. Although their offense is still top 10 in KenPom, so I don't know. But they played way too slow. That's the thing. Half-court style is not good for coming back. That's the thing. So, and maybe that's part of the reason why they haven't been able to win 6 games in March Madness. Debatably, they should have won it last year, though, man. They were in the championship game against Florida, and they had the game. That made me sad because I wanted the Florida brackets to go down. Florida was just the public side, man. I don't know. I think I might have had a play on Houston in that game. I don't know if I did or if I didn't. I did. I gave it a play on Houston in the Final Four game against Duke, and yeah. So that was one that actually was a winner for me and an actual bet for me back in the day. So that one was good at least. And because I don't like Duke, it was and because I do like Houston, that was like a triple whammy there. Did actually win money on that one at DraftKings, I believe, on that one. All right, that's gonna do it. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Dirty Sock. The madness, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit less mad now because of the NIL and the transfer stuff. I think you get fewer upsets now from the smaller conferences in the madness, but we'll see what happens. This field is more interesting than the last. Well, I don't know if it is because, I don't know. I really think that Michigan and Duke are like kind of far above the rest of the field now at this point, but we'll see, man. I think my champion pick is probably going to be one of those 2 teams, but we'll see. I don't know. I don't want to spoil anything. You don't know. We don't really know yet until we see what the bracket looks like, who's picking whom, going with the game theory stuff. So we'll see. But it'll be interesting. I mean, I think there are more teams that are, that could legitimately win it this year than there were last year. So last year was very, very top heavy. That's going to do it. I appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Peace.